Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers, and Ramadan Mubarak. Welcome to Mental Health Matters. I'm your host, Mariam Pelli, and I'm joined by my co-host, Sister Anisa Diab, our very own mental health professional. Welcome to the show, Sister Anisa.
Thank you for having me here.
Sister Anisa, I'm really excited about today's episode, actually, because we are talking about breaking the cycle of poverty, and we're joined by an extremely special guest. We're joined by Brother Al-amin Muhammad, who is the founder of We Rise Above the Streets Recovery Outreach Program based in Syracuse, New York. They serve the homeless community with Sandwich Saturdays and other forms of outreach. And as someone who's homeless himself on the streets of Atlanta and Georgia for 10 years, Brother Al-amin eventually became a full-time advocate and activist for the poor himself. Brother Al-amin also mentors at-risk youth in the city's most challenging schools and has inspired many to become servants of our community. He was featured on CBS This Morning News and recently recognized by Rock Nation on Black History Month. He also received the Social Justice Award from Syracuse University for his efforts, where he was honored by the mayor of Syracuse with his own holiday, Al-amin Muhammad Day. Additionally, he received the American Red Cross 2020 Real Hero Award. And currently, he has partnered with schools in central New York to coordinate the We Rise Above the Streets Youth Ambassador Program. Now that is a bio. Welcome to the show, Brother Al-amin Muhammad.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on our show. Brother Al-amin, you have like a really interesting story. I briefly read your story in an article, but I'd like you to tell us yourself about the work that you've done with We Rise Above the Streets and also how all of it all started.
I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. Been in Chicago all my life. My parents from the island of Haiti. They came to America back in the 70s. They came from a country where there was like dictatorships, stress, and a lot of poverty of Haiti. So when they came to America, my parents raised me, my sisters, and the rest of my siblings, to always be kind and always work hard. And my parents was very hard workers as well. As I grew up, my parents had a little issue going on in our household. So they divorced. And what really shocked me as a young man, when he got divorced, it was two different loves that I was experiencing as a young man. When they separated, I was kind of confused as a young man. And I was used to both of their love. My father was a strong man. He used to take me to like baseball games, basketball games. We used to go fishing. And my mom was like the nourisher, was always telling me that I was strong and always encouraged me, motivated me as a young man to pursue my education. So when they got divorced, I was really confused as a young man. So I was trying to find that same love. So I found it in the wrong place in the streets of Chicago. I joined the gang. As I was joining the gang, I started putting a mask over my face and started being someone that I wasn't. As I got kind of older and started indulging in the streets of Chicago, started using marijuana, selling crack cocaine in the streets. As I got older, I lost my identity. I started turning to someone that I didn't recognize, and I started getting used to of that person. As I got older, I became a gang leader in the city of Chicago. I started running over 3-4 different neighborhoods in the city of Chicago. It got to a point that I was being very known as one of the notorious drug dealer out there. A lot of people wanted to be honest with you, wanted to kill me. I've been shot twice. I was pronounced dead once. Been in and out of prison like half of my teenager life and my 20s and half of my 30s. I got out several times, but it was just one moment that I got incarcerated when I left Chicago, moved to Atlanta. And the reason I moved to Atlanta because I wanted to start over. I saw the sparkle of change that I wanted to get a job and I wanted to live a productive life. I've been through too much. I had a lot of chances. And when I got to Atlanta, I found a job and I really loved my job. Been there for a year. I was still struggling. When I was back in Chicago, I knew I had mental health problems back in Chicago because I was having a lot of nightmares when I moved to Atlanta about my past and a lot of things that had happened to me. So I've been in my job for about a year. I was staying at a hotel. I was trying to save money so I could get me an apartment and continue living a life that my parents taught me. So year at my job, they laid me off. And I was really upset and I was really sad about that. And there was a guy in my hotel room that I was staying in. Became good friends after work. I was going there playing video games and I was still doing drugs, drinking and doing alcohol. And guess what city he was from? Y'all ready for this? Chicago. So we had a lot in common, but he was selling drugs at his hotel as well. So when I got out from that job and they laid me off, my last check, I turned back selling drugs again with the guy from Chicago in the hotel. So I'm selling drugs in Atlanta, and there's different laws in different cities in the US. Atlanta is down south, and their laws is really, 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 really dangerous. You know, they'll try to lose you in the system. So when I got to Atlanta, I started selling drugs again, and I started wearing that mask. Remember that mask I was talking about? I put that mask right back on. But it got kind of worse because I was kind of older, and I was making a lot of money in the city of Atlanta. I was going to clubs, doing all type of crazy stuff out there. So one day I was coming from a nightclub. I was at my apartment, and then the federal agents came in and they kicked my door in, and they had a warrant out on me. But I left like 10 minutes before they came. So they incarcerated a couple of people. They locked a couple of people who was in the apartment because they didn't want to tell on me. So I found out they was looking for me. I turned myself in. I was in Chicago because I didn't want they really come to my parents' house, my family house. So I went back to Atlanta, turned myself in. So when I got to jail, to be honest with you, it might sound strange to everybody that's watching, but that time that I got locked up and I was incarcerated, that was one of the best times of my life. I felt different from all the times I was incarcerated. I started doing a lot of self-reflection, self-inventory about myself. I started finding out the true meaning of Al-amin Muhammad. My cellmate, he was Muslim, and I gave him a hard time all the time when he was praying. I kept saying disrespectful things to him while he was praying, but he was a big guy, and I thought we was actually going to fight several times, but he was so humble and so quiet and always smiling and always respectful to me, even when I was being disrespectful to him. So when I was incarcerated, I sat in my cell. I did a lot of trying to read, and I'm gonna remind everybody that I was a ninth grade dropout. I didn't have no type of education at all. So I'm trying to learn how to read in there, and the little things that we don't pay attention to. For example, when I was locked up, I noticed that I love flowers. I was planting flowers when I was incarcerated. And it's kind of crazy because what gangsters like flowers, right? So I'm in there planting flowers, watering flowers, talking to flowers, and everything else. And another thing that we don't pay attention, when I was in Chicago, I ain't never smiled because I'm always, defensive, always on guard. So I was looking at myself in the mirror and I started smiling. I'm like, wow, I got a beautiful smile. It took me like 30-some years to find out that I have one of the beautiful smile, right? I got a beautiful smile, right, y'all? The Muslim brother, he was teaching me a little about Islam. And one night I was sleeping and he was telling me that he noticed I was looking at my daughter's pictures all the time because the mother of my child was sending pictures to prison of my daughters going to school. And I missed a lot of time with my kids when they was young. So he asked me a question. He was like, if you died today, what legacy will you leave for your daughters? And that really hit me real hard because I didn't have no legacy. All they knew, if I died in this prison, all they'll know that daddy was a drug dealer. He did a lot of bad things to people. He hurt people. He was on drugs. So that day, I was interested in what he was doing, what he was praying. It was like yoga to me, praying, bowing, and everything else. I was interested in why he was always happy and he was incarcerated. So he taught me a little about Islam in there. And I was very interested. He gave me a book about the Prophet, may peace be upon him, the story of the Prophet Muhammad. That blew my mind when I read the whole book. Then when I heard the Adhan, I told myself, I need to be Muslim. Because I ain't never heard nothing like this day of my life. It used to bring chills all over my body when I heard the Adhan in prison. So I became Muslim. When I became Muslim in prison, everything changed about me. I didn't care how many years that I had. I didn't care about what the judge was going to do to me. I was ready to do my time and get out and become a Muslim, become a man, just start all over. Can you believe I went to court? My lawyer had a conversation with me when I went to court. He came out and told me that, Al-Amin, they offering you 1 year served and 9 years of probation. Can you believe that? All praise due to Allah that he saved me that day, because I was dead wrong. Got caught with a lot of drugs, got caught with a lot of guns, but the case was thrown away because it was tampered by the officers that locked me up, and the apartment was down under my name. So I had another chance and I got out, right? When I got out, I had so many plans that how I was going to get back on my feet, but it did not work like that. I was struggling when I got out. I was going to a lot of masjids in Atlanta. Brothers always helped me out, gave me money and gave me food. And I ended up becoming homeless, right? And I noticed my image was looking different when I was out in the streets. I just posted a picture of me homeless on social media for the first time and in my book. And that was one of the most scariest moments of my life, because that was the only thing that I didn't let go, let people see how I was looking when I was in the streets. So 10 years went by. I was used to being homeless. I knew I had mental health problems because I was always paranoid. Depression hit me a lot till I saw my psychiatrist for the first time, and they diagnosed me with PTSD and major depression. Major depression. And I was wondering, I understand about the depression, but I was confused about the PTSD. I was telling him, I ain't never been in the military. What are you talking about? He's like, yeah, you've been in the military. You've been through war all your life. And it made a lot of sense. I was like, wow. So I started learning more about my condition and started taking my medicine like I supposed to when I was out in the streets. It was really kind of hard because of Medicare when you're homeless. So I found a detox center that was going to help me to find me somewhere to stay and find me a job, because I was sleeping in the streets. I was sleeping in abandoned buildings. I was being treated wrong when I was homeless. I got stuff thrown on me, told me I smelled and all type of crazy stuff. So I found a detox center, that self-sufficient class that I could go to that will find me a job, find me housing, and teach me the steps to get back to society, self-sufficient. So I signed my name on the list, but when you're homeless, when you try to get to a program, you got what your name comes on top of the list and they'll call you. See, I ain't had a phone, so I kept going to the facility and finding out if I was getting closer. So my brothers and sisters, that everybody that's watching right now, and it's really kind of hard for me to share this. I done shared this like hundreds of times speaking in different places, but it's so difficult to share this. One day I was sick and tired and I was trying to end my life. I was really trying to end my life. I planned everything. I had the weapon and I knew where I was going to end my life at. So I was on my way. It was a rainy night. I was on my way and I was confused, and I kept asking Allah why I'm feeling like this way. And on my way to end my life, a car pulled up, and it was the caseworker who told me to sign up for the program. He told me, get in the car, we've been looking for you. You are ready to get in the program, we've been looking for you. And what's really shocking to me and so beautiful, Atlanta's a big city. This guy come out of nowhere, see me walking down the street and pulled over in the rain and told me, get in the car, that you've been accepted to the program. I still get chills thinking about that. So I got in the car, rode there. It was Memorial Weekend. I rode there. I spent the night the weekend because they was closed because of their holiday. Monday morning, I went to his office, and I slept good that weekend. I haven't slept in a bed, I don't know how long. And this is something that we don't pay attention, y'all. We take granted for it. This is my first time eating out of fork. I haven't ate out of fork, a real fork and spoon, like in 10 years. You know, when I ate out of fork when I was there in the weekend, it was one of the most beautiful times of my life. And it might sound small, but when you're homeless, And when you're in the streets and when you see something shiny and a real fork, you're very excited about that. So I went to his office. I shared my story like I'm sharing my story to everyone that's watching right now. I told him everything that I've been through. And he told me that to sit down. And he looked at me in my eye. He said, Al-Amin, what you just shared with me. His name is Mr. Santos. And we still good friends right now. I will get to that in a second. He told me, Al-Amin, what you just shared with me right now is very devastating. I'm so sorry that you had to go through this. I'm here to help you. And whatever I have to do for you to get back on your feet, I'm gonna work so hard to do it. And one day you're gonna help a lot of people. I see a lot of potential in you. He came a little closer. He looked at me, he hugged me, kissed me on my cheek. I haven't had a man done that to me for decades. The only person who used to do that to me was my father. So that really motivated me. It motivated me. I went to school, the program they had. I got my GED. I've been clean now for like 21 years clean, of drugs and alcohol. When I got my GED, I went to Emory College. That's one of the top colleges in Atlanta. I got my associate's degree there, became an addiction counselor. And guess what? I started teaching at the place that I recover at. I started helping over 200-300 people a year finding housing in the city of Atlanta. And it was me and another guy who was partnering up, helping a lot of people out there. So I'm doing a lot of volunteers. So I told myself I want to start a nonprofit. You know, a lot of people was telling me that I speak the language of the people in the streets and I can help a lot of people. And I started having a passion of helping people getting clean and making sack lunches at my apartment and bringing it to them. When I got in class, I was helping all these people. I met a young lady, stayed in Syracuse, and connected with her Wally, and then we got married. And I ain't know nothing about Syracuse. You know, I'm like, what is that? I ain't never heard of Syracuse, you know? So when I came here and we got married, I moved here and I told her I want to go back to Atlanta, continue to pursue my dreams because she was going to school to become a nurse here. So I moved to Syracuse and I started using all my gift and my talent and start helping people out here and start bringing people together out here in Syracuse. So what I noticed that Syracuse is like number 13 of the poorest city in the U.S., number 13. And that's kind of shocking for a small city that is the poorest metropolitan city in the U.S. So I was really interested to find out why a small city was like that. Started knowing people, started connecting with people, and started asking a lot of questions. And I decided I want to start an event called Salmon Saturday. And that's what I did. It started with 15 people to 20 people and ended up becoming 200 to 500 people a week for the past 6 years before the pandemic.
And brother, I mean, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. There were parts that I really, felt really sad listening to. And I'm just so glad that you were able to turn your life around. But when you're accustomed to a certain way of life and it can be really difficult to change. So Sister Anisa, when you're listening to Brother Al-Amin's story, what stands out to you as key to his resilience and success?
First of all, I just want to say thank you for being so candid, so honest about your story. I was tearing up just listening to this. It was not easy to keep it together. And I'm just so honored really to hear this story that you shared and the moments that changed your life. I know it's going to help so many viewers on the show. So thank you. And I think what stood out to me, honestly, was what you mentioned about what happened in prison. It was really this transformative healing period of your life where you came across, the Muslim inmate, and he asked you that question of what legacy are you going to leave for your daughter? And that brought about so much discomfort within, what we call in psychology, this cognitive dissonance, where my core values are not matching up with my behaviors and my actions. To me, it sounds like your core values were, living a dignified life, living a life that's God-centered, that's helping other people. And you had to sit with this extreme discomfort and knowing that that wasn't the life that you had lived. And you made a decision that rather than to go back to that old way of life, which would have been more comfortable, which would have been more familiar, still wasn't ideal, you chose the life of living rather than to go back to that, to be homeless. And you were basically just surviving. And wow, the fact that at one point you had gotten so low that you were contemplating, not just contemplating, walking towards ending your life. And subhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent this social worker to help you. I mean, doesn't it show how Allah is always with us in our struggles, right?
Yeah.
He is, and he responds to our call. And that is such a sign. And I can't tell you how many clients I've spoke with and even viewers who watch the show who said, one episode I watched that day, I had planned to end my life, but I saw this episode and I decided not to. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always sends us a sign, and it's such an honor. And it's so courageous of you to share that, even though I know it's really uncomfortable. So I think that, discomfort in life, whether, none of us has, this is a unique story. A lot of us have not been through an experience like that in our lives, but I think we can all relate to having a point in our lives where there's a level of discomfort, where our core values are not matching our actions. And we have to reflect on, okay, what is the life that we want to lead? And that means being really uncomfortable, getting in, but also that stage of discomfort is so important. It's a valuable skill. And I think it is the skill of legendary people like you. Allah bless you. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you, sister.
And Brother Al-Amin, during the month of Ramadan, many of us take more time out to reflect, particularly when it comes to hunger, and we develop a sense of empathy for others who we acknowledge as having less than us. But what are some of the specific goals that Muslims can set beyond this month to help end the cycle of poverty for those that are in their community or just around the world?
Yes, just get together and go out to the community and spread kindness and compassion amongst the community. And this is big, especially as Muslims, because there's a lot of people out in the streets. Now, I just want to make sure everybody knows that when I first started, we were serving the homeless. Now we serve everybody. We serve families that do have homes and who lost their jobs during the pandemic and been working their jobs for 30 years, but they don't have food, don't have other basic needs to survive. So now we're serving a whole large group of people now. Our numbers have went so much higher now. So I encourage all the Muslims to go out there, keep eye contact, right? And do a lot of what? Do a lot of listening and ask questions and engage amongst the community, And I was telling the Muslim community here, and they didn't even know that, even the brothers in the masjid, that there's a lot of Muslims out here in the streets that I serve right now at this moment. And a lot of brothers in these masjids here in Syracuse didn't even know that. So the month of Ramadan, they're always connecting with me. We go out in the community, and the brothers and sisters that's watching right now, continue to go out in the community, continue to leave out the doors in the masjids and go out and help people. And take these tools, information that you're doing the month of Ramadan, and continue to do it after the month of Ramadan.
Thank you. And Sister Anisa, for our viewers who are wondering, we're talking about breaking the cycle of poverty, how does this connect with mental health?
Absolutely. So there is a big link in terms of poverty and mental health. And people often will wonder, can poverty cause mental illness? And what we see from the research is we know there is at the very least a strong connection. So people who live in poverty, they tend to be at a higher risk for mental illness. And they also, understandably so, would report lower levels of happiness. And this is true internationally. So there's been several peer-reviewed studies, 115 studies spanning 33 countries that looked at the developing world and the impact of poverty and mental health. And they found that 80% of the studies showed that poverty comes with higher rates of mental illness. And among those people living in poverty, we see that those people have more severe, longer lasting mental illness, worse outcomes. And we know that mental illness is never just caused by one thing. We've talked about that on the show before, but poverty can definitely be one of those very important factors that interacts with other issues such as genetic predisposition to mental health concerns or traumatic life events, substance abuse, all of that. And the opposite can be true. So poverty can also lead to mental illness, but mental illness can lead to poverty as well, as we see in many cases with folks who are struggling with chronic or severe disorders like schizophrenia in particular. It's one of the most significant social determinants of health and well-being. And that's why it's so important that we push for equality in mental health care access. Brother Al-Amin was talking about in his story how it was so hard, even with Medicare and the insurance companies, to get the care that he needed, right? So when folks do not have equal access to mental health care, that is going to keep them in that cycle, right, of poverty that we need to break out of. And that's why I believe everyone should have mental health support, especially those who are on the streets, especially those who are at risk.
And we talk about the importance of helping people who are homeless, but it just seems like it's a detached statement sometimes, because people still have a stigma attached to those who are homeless. They might see them as a nuisance or, as lazy drug addicts, or turn a blind eye to someone who's in evident need. Brother Al-Amin, what do we do when we see someone who's got a cardboard sign and they're asking for money on the side of the streets, especially when it comes to big cities? It's quite common to see that in every street corner.
Yes. You know what? That's a great question. My Sandwich Saturday program every Saturday, especially before the pandemic, a lot of different people comes there from all around the city of Syracuse and all around the world. So we got a lot of people with different views. A lot of people came to me and said that I'm enabling them. Why? I'm giving them free stuff. They got to find a job. But my test is how I respond to that. So how I respond to that is no response. I just tell them, can you finish the program? And then after you're done, we can revisit this conversation. And I'm going to tell you, brothers and sisters, this never fails me. Every time somebody has something negative to say about people dealing with poverty and homelessness, they need to find a job, they're bums, they come back to me and feel so ashamed. Because you know why? Because imagine that you're in a setting of volunteers from different all walks of life, different religion, different background, different race, different culture, children, all together in hundreds, making sack lunches and preparing clothes and items to go out to a community that everybody who's struggling with homelessness and poverty that be there know that my organization will be there every Saturday. So when we're done doing that, the guy who had that mindset, he's engaging with the community. He's having good conversations, laughing, enjoying, and he's in a good setting, a comfortable setting. So when he's done, he's going out and serve. So when he go out to the community, he's setting up and he's serving other people. Now he's having a conversation with a homeless guy, having a conversation with a family, and he's finding out these people had a life just like him, right? It was just a tragedy make them be in the position they're in right now. So when the event is over, it never fails. 7 years doing this work, they'll walk up to me and they'll apologize. I'm so sorry the way I talk about these people. And I tell them it's okay. You have the right to feel how you feel. My test is to show you the different way, to show you that this is the people that you're talking about. They're just like us. So when it comes to serving, it helps the giver and the receiver. It helps both sides. And last but not least, if you're on a corner, you see somebody with a sign, it's not about money, y'all. It's not about money. I'm telling you this because I was homeless myself. It's about recognizing that person in that corner waving, saying hi, smile to the individual. Because this person probably never talked to no one for months, probably for weeks. Because we're in a world right now, there's a lot of evil going on, right? This organization promotes love. We believe that love overrules hate. So when you see the guy, make sure you keep a Ziploc bag, right? Go to the dollar store. put some socks, right? Put some deodorant, put some hand warmers, have some gloves in a Ziploc bag, leave in your glove department. When you see somebody in the corner, and be safe now, because we're in the middle of the pandemic, you can roll the windows down, wave, smile, and get him the care package. This is how you could really help yourself and help the brother or the sister that's on that corner as well.
And when we're talking about poverty, it's such a multifaceted problem because embedded within is usually other issues like gang violence, relationship loss, addictions, and other issues. Brother Al-Amin, what would you say to a viewer who might be in this difficult place?
I'm gonna tell the viewer that's watching right now and that's suffering in this community, suffering through gang violence, drugs, and poverty, and always paranoid. Just sit back and work on mind, body, and spirit. Just tell yourself that you want to start a whole new legacy. You want to leave your environment. Look for mentors. Go to your local youth center or your local center. Continue to motivate yourself. Continue to encourage yourself. Surround yourself around people who's been there and then achieve a lot in their lives. It helps. It really helps. You cannot be in one area by yourself and not engaging with other people who are striving for greatness, striving to be success, striving to leave legacies for their family. So myself, I'm a mentor. I mentor a lot of young people, and everybody's welcome to email me. I'm an open book. A lot of people, to be honest with you, are shocked that, a executive director is so open like this, because I'll never forget where I come from, and I'm always going to reach out to people, especially suffering through mental health, because I know how I feel to be lonely. I know how I feel to be invisible and suffer through a lot of issues. And I have the tools and information to improve a lot of people's lives. And I have done it in the past and still doing it right now.
Brother Al-Amin, I understand that you also became a licensed therapist yourself and you specialized in providing drug and alcohol counseling. How do you see mental health professionals being able to play a role in breaking the cycle of poverty and even addiction?
Oh, great question. I had a cookout. I had a cookout every year. This is our 5th annual cookout. And I reach out to a lot of mental health facilities, and I brought them to our community, right? This is something that don't happen. You bring therapists to the community. And we did it twice this summer, and it was a lot of good results. And if anybody that's dealing with the mental health field, please connect with your local community leader who's out doing boots on the ground, who's out there face to face with the community. Come out there with them. I understand there's a lot of them have to come to make appointments, but it's okay to come out with them, because this is something unique that the community never seen. Somebody who's in the mental health field that come out to them, And when we did this year, a lot of people was kind of shocked when they seen tables set up and people signing up, people, having conversations with people, what's going on with them. So the first step, I encourage everybody that's watching who's in the mental health field, connect with a community leader, connect with anybody that's out in the community. Go out to the community and use your skills and your gift.
And Anisa, if I come to you, what other resources are available to those who might be struggling financially with homelessness?
Sure. Brother Al-Amin mentioned quite a few different ones that helped him. In North America, we have the United Way, right? And this is a free confidential service where callers can pick up the phone, dial 211, and get connected to resources in their area 24/7. They just give them their zip code and tell the crisis worker what they need. So this can certainly help people who are on the streets needing a place to stay, with shelters or food pantries, things like that. Other countries, especially need to look at their local health departments, contact them and see what resources and financial assistance is available for those individuals. Contacting the local masjid. Sometimes people are ashamed to, contact their masjid and say, hey, I'm in trouble, I'm struggling. Are there any zakat eligible programs that I can apply for? But that's, of course, a resource that we want to reach out to. Helplines as well. In the UK, there's the Samaritans.org website, which has the helpline information. Nisa helpline in the US, especially for women who might need shelter resources. But, helplines usually have individuals who have the opportunity to look at their database and see what's available according to your needs. But the key is to reach out for help and to have the courage to admit, hey, I just can't do this myself anymore. I need to reach out and I need to accept the help, right? And that was what was key with Brother Al-Amin, is that instead of continuing to walk towards ending his life, he said, you know what, I'm going to accept the social worker's help, right?
And Brother Amin, if we come back to a point in your story when you were in prison and decided to become a Muslim, what was it that inspired you most about Islam that made you want to convert and turn your life around?
Our beloved prophet, may peace be upon him, reading his story, I even said this. I was Muslim like for a week, and I even said this to myself when I read that book. I said, this is the best man ever stepped foot in this world. His story inspired me, and the way he struggled and still had faith, it really encouraged me to continue to stay strong. And being around Muslim brothers that's in prison, who was always concerned for me and who always was so kind to me and educating me, with literature and everything else. So that really inspired me. And last but not least, and I still stay focused when I hear the Adhan. I think the Adhan was like the first thing that really got my attention and really woke me up and said, I need to be Muslim. I need to be Muslim now. And when I found out about the prophet, they used to call him Al-amin, trustworthy. And I know that, I can't be like the prophet, but I told myself I'm gonna try my best to make his name be noticed and make him be known that why I chose that name, especially when I was presented that Al-amin Muhammad Day. I never forget, I got on stage and told everybody what was the meaning of the name and why I chose that name. And for me to be in that position that day to let everybody understand who our prophet was, may peace be upon him, that's one of the most amazing days of my life,
You've set up a fantastic organization, We Rise Beyond the Street. Where can viewers go to donate, support, and learn more about this organization and its mission?
Yes, it's really easy to donate. We have a PayPal account. Just go to PayPal, type in We Rise Above the Streets with the S behind the streets at gmail.com. And if anybody wants to donate any items like hats, gloves, right now we're in the cold winter, but by the time the month of Ramadan come, it's going to be like going in the spring, probably, inshallah. Socks, we have an Amazon account, and I noticed that it's much easier for people to order stuff and get it delivered to our office. Our website is ifweeattheyeat.org. Again, ifweeattheyeat.org. If we eat, they eat means that no one deserves to be hungry in the city of Syracuse and all over the world.
Thank you for that. And Sister Anisa, just before we end the show, do you have any final words that you'd like to say?
I just want to say thank you, Brother Al-Amin, for being on the show. It's just inspirational to hear your story. And it just stands out to me how, mashallah, you were able to take such a difficult life experience and to turn your life around. And it's proof that it's never too late. There's always hope for people. Sometimes people will say to me, I've been dealing with the same problems for the past 7 years, the past 10 years. What's going to be different about this year? And you're living proof that just one moment can change everything. And that's what I hope the viewers take away who might be struggling.
Well said.
Brother Al-Amin, is there any final words that you'd like to say to our viewers, anyone who's watching the show right now?
Yes, I just want to tell everybody that's watching the show that's struggling through mental health or struggling with anything in life, continue to stay strong, continue to stay focused, and continue to be kind, and continue to reach out to people. Don't be ashamed to ask for help, like my sister was saying. And I just want to tell the whole world, this is probably one of the most important messages I'm about to leave. Today, smile, be kind to one another. Be the reason someone smiled today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Honestly, we're humbled and we're honored to have you on our show today. Thank you so much. Dear viewers, we have come to the end of our show, so do tune in again next time. Thank you very much. Take care. Wassalamu alaikum.